And what is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Acceleracers Hub for another video. Hopefully you guys are all having an absolutely awesome day. So guys, the other day I was rewatching all the Acceleracers movies just, on a little binge, because you can't just watch one of them. You got to watch all 4 or all 5 if you want to hit Highway 35 too on your way. But you got to watch at least 4 or 5 of them if you're going to rewatch the series. But anyways, I was rewatching the movies and I realized I have never done a rankings video on my favorite characters in the Acceleracers movie. So I decided what better time while the movies are fresh in my mind to go ahead and make a rankings video for the characters. So that is what we're going to be doing today. And this is a tough video, guys. Let me tell you what, because out of all the characters in the movies, you really can't point out like a bad character. They're just all really cool. And all the drivers have, certain cool features and bad features. They all are such complex characters. And it is an absolute blast to try and rank them. But let's go ahead and jump into my rankings of all the Acceleracers characters. So for the purpose of this video, guys, I'm only going to be doing the 10 main characters in the movie, the 5 drivers from each team. I'm not going to be doing, Vertstad, Dr. Tesla, Lonnie, Gig, Sparky, even though everyone knows Sparky is everyone's favorite character. But I'm only going to be doing those main 10 characters. So let's start with my least favorite character in the series. And just a reminder, even if a character is not in, my top 2 or 3, doesn't mean I didn't like the character. Unfortunately, it just means that the other characters were that much better, because all 10 of these characters are absolutely fantastic and they do a great job developing all of them. So at the bottom of my list, I have Mr. Mark Wilde himself. Unfortunately, I really felt that Wilde's anger and his immaturity held him back in a lot of the realms and throughout the movies in general, because he definitely has some crazy driving skill as seen, in the ice leg of the world race. He was dominating all the other drivers, even though he was still pretty reckless, but he had a lot of the characters that Vert had behind the wheel. But unfortunately, that anger with Kurt and going to prison, it really just held him back, and he ended up, losing several realms because of his anger, including the junk realm, where he ended up being captured by the drones and it cost him one of his arms. And anybody that's ever known someone like Wilde in real life, just that hot-headed guy that is always looking for a fight, we just want to stay as far away from those people as possible. So that is why Wilde is at the bottom of my rankings. And not much better, in 9th, Kurt Wilde, his brother, is my second least favorite character. While Kurt is a pretty good driver, he's pretty likable. He doesn't really rub people the wrong way. Unfortunately, he goads Marky the whole entire movie and absolutely baits his brother into acting like a total jerk for 90% of the show. I really didn't see much improvement from Kurt from Highway 35 to Acceleracers. Obviously, he grew up a bit at the end of Highway 35, when he was helping everybody, that we're all on the same team now line. But unfortunately, in Acceleracers, while he had a lot of driving skill, he was still just kind of a jerk to everybody. So that is why Kurt is near the bottom of my rankings as well, even though he was a pretty good driver. But unfortunately, this isn't a ranking of the driver's skill levels, in my opinion. This is just my characters that I enjoyed and didn't enjoy. So I have Kurt down at the bottom with his brother. Now in 8th, I have Miss Karma Ice. And this is a really tough one to rank for me because she's very skilled. She doesn't rub people the wrong way. She was always intelligent and well-spoken on the show. But unfortunately, she just kind of hovered in the background for a lot of it. She had some great moments like, cracking the code on there was a secret to winning the realms and deserving to win and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, she really just didn't stand out at all. She didn't provide any humor at all. I don't think she laughed at all during the whole entire show, did she? Someone might have to let me know down in the comments. But so while she is definitely a very skilled driver, she really didn't add much to the show for me. But I didn't dislike watching her in the show, whereas, Wilde and Kurt really got on my nerves sometimes. But she just was kind of forgettable for me, unfortunately, other than some of her big breakthroughs. So that's why Karma is down near the bottom. Now, the child in me is absolutely screaming at this, having Nolo at number 7. But unfortunately, as you grow up, you start to watch the movies in a different light, and, you sort of just see different aspects of the characters that you didn't notice as a kid. And I was enamored with Nolo as a kid. That scene where he won the swamp realm, that was like the coup de grace for me. That was the best thing I had ever seen. But rewatching the movies as an adult now, Nolo definitely had some recklessness and hot-headedness that held him back as well, in the same way that it held Wilde back. And obviously he grew up a lot throughout the movies, but he did have some great comic moments. And I do think he is a much better character than Karma, Kurt, and Wilde. I had him above all of those 3. So it's sort of like the top 7 for me were all really close together, and then the bottom 3 were a little bit further off. But Nolo comes in at number 7 for me. But just going to have to give an honorable mention to Spectite and Synchron High Voltage, which were some of the coolest cars that I had ever seen, and still some of the coolest diecasts. So coming in at number 6, we have Mr. Mitchell McClurg, or Monkey, and I gotta say, I love that Monkey's focus never changes throughout the entirety of the movies. He is there for the money and Lonnie. That is literally it. But I love that he's chilling at the end and he's really having a blast, developing cars and new fuels and stuff like that. And let's be honest, along with Porkchop and Scirocco, he was much needed comic relief with some of the serious characters going on. So I really enjoyed every second that Monkey was on screen. And other than Porkchop, he probably has the second most one-liners in the show that had me rolling. So then we have Monkey's counterpart at number 5, Pork Chop himself, king of the one-liners. You know, the best line in the movie when Monkey said, "Lonnie picked me, she thinks I'm a good driver," and Pork Chop goes, "Maybe she hopes she won't come back." That is just the best burn I've ever heard in my entire life. But Pork Chop was absolute comedy every time he was on screen. And he had some great shots like this one, eating, burping, telling people to pass the sauce, covered in grease. Absolutely hysterical every time he was on screen. And he was a pretty good driver. He had a pretty good arc behind him too. You know, the whole water realm thing showed some vulnerability. But overall, Pork Chop is just the man. And then at number 4, we have Shirako Takamoto. And once again, the child in me is so disappointed that I don't have him in the top spot. But unfortunately, looking back on it, he really didn't develop much as a character throughout the show. He was absolute comedy, great cars, great tunes. Just everything about him was so slick and so cool. But he just did not really develop much as a character. So he's kind of limited in that aspect, just like Monkey and Karma for me. Whereas a really cool character, love the whole vibe and everything. He has an absolute lifestyle, but just kind of comes up short. So at number 4, we have Shirako Takamoto. And then moving into the top 3, Taro Kitano. I really didn't expect to have 2 Metal Maniacs in my top 3, but Taro did make the cut. I really appreciate, you know, how cool and collected Taro is at all times. He's a great leader and a great driver, but unfortunately, he just kind of lets people walk over him sometimes, like Wild. He only really stood up to Wild once, I think, when he told Pork Chop to not take Torque's car and go into the realm. So he kind of just strikes me as someone who wants to be left alone and just drive. But unfortunately, if he was a little bit more of a leader, I really could have seen Taro in the top spot. But anyways, just because of pure driving skill and his cool, calm vibes, I got Taro at number 3. And it doesn't hurt that he was able to pull, you know, Lonnie and Karma. My man has some serious game, and I just wish I could have known what happened to his hair in between Highway 35 and Acceleracers. And then at the number 2 spot, I have Torque Maddox. So I really didn't enjoy Torque as a kid, honestly. He just kind of hung around in the background, was kind of lame, didn't win any realms, you know. But as an adult, I got to appreciate leadership qualities, you know, the ability to be calm under pressure. Pretty solid driver. I think he finished, you know, in the top handful of drivers in every single realm that he went into. He was never at the bottom. He was a fantastic leader. He kept some of those crazy personalities under control. I mean, anybody that can turn Pork Chop and Monkey into viable members on a racing team is an absolute winner in my book. And you got to appreciate the whole arc with, you know, not lashing back at Nolo is trying to get at him over and over again about his brother. Torque just kept it calm and cool. And in the end, it all worked out for Torque. So I got mad respect for Torque as an adult. And then in the top spot, I know, cliche, we have Vert Wheeler, Mr. Acceleracer himself in the top spot. Because I was just thinking about it. And as a kid, Vert was never really in my top group. Obviously, he had some of the best cars, you know, Powerade, the Teku Dior2, and Reverb. But as a character, he seemed a little whiny to me. You know, he ran away at one point. But watching it again, as now that I'm a little bit older, I can definitely understand where he's coming from. You know, failing a couple times and then coming back and trying again. You know, gotta love the whole redemption arc there. And eventually winning the ultimate race and becoming an Acceleracer. So Vert's whole arc behind him really works it out for me in the end. And that's why he gets the top spot here. Definitely interesting to do this video after watching the movies over the years. Because it's amazing how the characters move up and down your rankings, you know, as you get older. So that is going to conclude my rankings on the Acceleracers characters. I know you're probably not surprised to see Vert at the number 1 spot, but it's just, you can't beat that redemption arc, you know, becoming the Acceleron. You can't beat that. He is the man. And Shirako is always my favorite as a kid, and I do love myself some Shirako. But just looking at the grand scheme of things, it couldn't be anybody other than Vert. He is just the embodiment of Acceleracers for what it's worth. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up my video. Be sure to let me know down in the comments what you would move around, what you would change, maybe who your favorite characters are. If you have like a top 3 or your least favorite character, let me know down in the comments. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed, be sure to smash the like button for me, subscribe to the Acceleracers Hub for more Acceleracers related content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.